Today, we're diving into the vibrant world of medieval trade and commerce, exploring the bustling markets and fairs that shaped our economic landscape. From the cluster of commerce streets bearing names that still exist today to the emergence of large-scale trade fairs that attracted traders from all corners of Europe, we'll witness how our shopping experiences evolved throughout the centuries. As we journey through this period of bustling commerce, we'll discover how trade expanded with improved transportation, maritime technology, and a growing urban population with disposable income. So buckle up and join us in experiencing the sights, smells, and vast exchange of products that characterized medieval markets, towns, and trade fairs. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments your favorite historical era of commerce. Now, let's begin our journey. During the medieval period, trade and commerce flourished, allowing even small communities to have access to weekly markets and occasional larger fairs featuring a wide array of consumer goods. Large estate owners, town councils, and religious institutions like churches and monasteries, who received licenses from their sovereigns, organized these markets and fairs in hopes of generating revenue from stallholder fees and stimulating the local economy through related services. While international trade had existed since Roman times, it experienced significant growth starting in the 9th century CE thanks to advancements in transportation and banking, as well as the economic progress of Northern Europe. For instance, enormous quantities of English wool were shipped to Flanders, and the Venetians, influenced by the Crusades, expanded their trade relations with the Byzantine Empire and the Levant. Additionally, new financial instruments emerged that enabled even small investors to finance trade expeditions throughout Europe by sea and land. Licenses granted by the monarch allowed markets to take place in public squares, wide streets, or specially constructed halls within villages, towns, and cities. Markets were also organized outside several castles and monasteries. Typically held once or twice a week, bigger towns might host daily markets that rotated locations, or they might cater to specific items such as meat, fish, or bread. Stallholders sometimes arranged next to their competition to encourage competitiveness, paid a fee to estate owners or the town, and borough councils for the privilege of setting up their stalls. Men usually sold meat and bread, while women, often making up the majority of stallholders, sold staple items like eggs, dairy products, poultry, and ale. There existed intermediaries called regrators who would purchase products directly from the makers and redistribute them to market stall vendors, or producers might hire a salesperson to sell their items. Additionally, there were hucksters who went door-to-door selling goods in residential areas. The exchange of everyday, inexpensive items was primarily restricted to local markets due to transportation costs. The tolls charged at specific locations along roads, bridges, and mountain passes made it so that only luxury items were worth transporting over long distances. While water transportation was more cost-effective and secure than land, risks such as bad weather and theft were still present. As a result, local markets mainly relied on supplies from nearby farmed estates, and individuals seeking special items like clothes, fabric, or wine often had to travel for half a day or more to the nearest town. In addition to markets, towns offered shops as another option for consumers. Shopkeepers typically lived above their establishments, which featured a large window facing the street and an outward-facing stall beneath a wooden canopy. To foster competition and facilitate the work of city and guild inspectors, shops selling similar goods were often located in close proximity to each other in designated neighborhoods. In some cases, the shop's location correlated with the type of merchandise sold. For example, horse sellers would generally be found near city gates to entice passing travelers, while bookstores were situated close to cathedrals and associated learning institutions. Essential businesses such as goldsmiths and armorers were typically found near the town's administrative buildings, where regulators could closely monitor their operations. Bankers and moneylenders were also present in towns, with many being Jewish due to the church's prohibition against usury for Christians. As a result of trades clustering together, numerous streets adopted names reflecting the dominant trade in the area, with many of these names persisting to this day. Trade fairs emerged as large-scale commercial events, often held annually in larger towns. These fairs provided a broader selection of goods than local markets and offered traders wholesale buying opportunities. Due to increased competition among sellers, prices at these events were generally lower. Trade fairs thrived in France, England, Flanders, and Germany during the 12th and 13th centuries CE, with the Champagne region of France being particularly famous for such events. Fairs were held in Troyes, Saint-Étienne, Bar-sur-Aube, and Lagny during different months, supported by the Counts of Champagne. They provided policing services and financed a task force to oversee these events. Traders selling wool, cloth, spices, wine, and numerous other items were drawn from all over France and even foreign countries like Flanders, Spain, England, and Italy. Some of the fairs could last up to 49 days, bringing significant revenue to the counts. The importance of these fairs was so great that French kings guaranteed protection for merchants traveling to and from these events. The Champagne fairs not only gained fame across Europe, but also enhanced the international reputation of Champagne wine. For many common people, these fairs were a major highlight of the year. Attendees typically traveled more than a day to reach the nearest fair, often spending a night or two at the surrounding inns and taverns. Public entertainment such as dancing girls, street performers, and other attractions were available, alongside less savory activities like gambling and prostitution, leading to the church viewing these events with disapproval. By the 15th century CE, the prominence of trade fairs had diminished as opportunities for individuals to purchase products anytime and anywhere significantly expanded. During the early Middle Ages in Europe, trade persisted somewhat as it had under Roman rule, with maritime transportation being crucial for transferring goods across the Mediterranean and along rivers and waterways from south to north and vice versa. However, the scope of international trade during this period is a subject of debate among historians. Luxury items were indeed exchanged, but the quantities and whether these exchanges involved currency, bartering, or gift-giving remain uncertain. Jewish and Syrian merchants might have filled the void left by the Roman decline until the 7th century CE, while the Levantine region also traded with North Africa and the Moors in Spain. International trade was likely confined to the elite aristocracy and bolstered economies rather than propelling them. As the 9th century CE progressed, a more distinct image of international trade began to take shape. The Italian city-states, under the nominal rule of the Byzantine Empire, started to assume control of the Mediterranean trade networks, primarily Venice and Amalfi, later aided by Pisa, Genoa, and appropriate southern Italian ports. Merchandise traded between the Arab world and Europe encompassed slaves, spices, scents, gold, jewels, leather goods, animal hides, and luxurious textiles like silk. Italian cities specialized in exporting products such as linen, unspun cotton, and salt. Significant inland trading centers like Milan were established, which subsequently distributed goods to coastal cities for additional exports or further northward. The Mediterranean's trade links are highlighted through accounts of European harbors in Arab geographers' writings and the abundant Arab gold coins discovered in areas like southern Italy. During the 10th and 11th centuries CE, Northern Europe engaged in global trade as well, with the Vikings accumulating numerous slaves from their raids and trading them. Silver from Saxony's mines was exported, while England supplied grain to Norway and received Scandinavian timber and fish in return. Following Britain's Norman conquest in 1066 CE, trade shifted to France and the Low Countries, with cloth and wine imports and cereal and wool exports, enabling Flemish weavers to create textiles. As Venice, Pisa, and Genoa grew wealthier, their trade networks expanded, establishing trading posts in North Africa and obtaining monopolies in regions of the Byzantine Empire. In exchange for aiding crusaders with transportation, manpower, and naval support, these Italian cities secured a permanent presence in territories captured by Christian forces in the Levant starting from the 12th century CE. the Northern Crusades of the same era supplied Southern Europe with additional slaves and precious metals such as iron, copper, and tin. The 13th century CE saw increased long-distance trade of more common goods, facilitated by improved roads, canals, and advanced maritime technology. These advancements decreased transportation time, enlarged capacity, and reduced losses and costs, making trade more lucrative. Moreover, as goods reached their destination, a larger number of individuals possessed excess wealth due to the expanding urban population employed in manufacturing or trading. As a result, international commerce experienced significant growth, with numerous cities establishing global trading hubs where foreign merchants could temporarily reside and conduct business. For instance, during the early 13th century CE, Genoa had 198 resident merchants, including 95 from Flanders and 51 from France. German traders were present on Venice's renowned Rialto Bridge, in London's Steelyard district, and at the Tyske Brygge quarter in Bergen, Norway. Merchants from Marseille and Barcelona established permanent camps in North African ports. The substantial economic migration prompted the development of consulates to safeguard the rights of their citizens, and specialized shops catering to their unique preferences in food, clothing, and religion began to emerge. As trade expanded, relationships between states and rulers grew increasingly intricate, with the involvement of middlemen and agents. Wealthy investors financed trading expeditions and typically received 75% of the profits if they supplied the entire initial capital, while the remaining percentage was allocated to the merchants who gathered and shipped the goods. This arrangement, utilized by Genoese traders, was referred to as a commenda. Alternatively, the societas maris involved investors providing 2/3 of the capital and merchants contributing the rest, with profits evenly divided. Additionally, smaller investors formed consortiums to support these ventures, leading to the development of advanced borrowing and lending mechanisms that involved numerous families, especially within Italian cities. The proliferation of financial tools, such as credit notes, bills of exchange, maritime insurance, and company shares, enticed investors and facilitated the expansion of credit. Commerce began to resemble its modern form, with well-established businesses managed by generations of merchants from the same family. Standardization efforts increased for product quality, and guides were developed to help compare weights, measurements, and currencies across cultures. Governments exerted more control by codifying trade laws and regulations, implementing taxes, duties, and protectionist quotas, along with advice to navigate these restrictions. By the mid-14th century CE, Italian city-states were trading with distant partners like the Mongols, although this global contact came with negative consequences, such as the Black Death that spread through Europe. Regardless, European pioneers ventured in the opposite direction for both religious and commercial pursuits, leading to the discovery of the Cape Verde Islands by the Portuguese in 1462 CE. 3 decades later, Christopher Columbus paved the way to the New World. Additionally, in 1497 CE, Vasco da Gama ambitiously sailed around the Cape of Good Hope to reach India. By the end of the Middle Ages, the world had become increasingly interconnected, yielding wealth for some and a spare for many. And with that fascinating look into the world of medieval trade and commerce, we've reached the end of today's journey. As we witnessed, the Middle Ages was a time when trade and commerce flourished, giving birth to fairs and markets we still know and love today. From the famous Champagne fairs in France to advancements in finance and maritime technology, the Middle Ages truly played a significant role in shaping our modern world of business and global connections. If you enjoyed our trip to the past, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more historical explorations. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, so you'll never miss an exciting new adventure through history. And as always, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next video where we'll continue to unveil the captivating stories of history. Until then, keep exploring.